Real Betis. I'm told that lines of communication between Manchester United and Betis remain open over a potential deal. However, Manchester United would want to do a permanent deal for Anthony if they are to let him go, over doing another loan move for Anthony. And a permanent move, it's going to be really, really difficult for Real Betis to be able to afford the kind of asking price Manchester United would want. If you go back to January and Manchester United tried to do a permanent deal for Anthony, I'm not sure how much money they could actually ask another club. And so they kind of took a calculated risk. They thought, right, if we can send him to La Liga, maybe that pace of football would suit Anthony, and it did. It might raise his value. So now he's come back to Manchester United with probably a higher value than he did back in January. Now, the other alternative, I'm sure there'll be other suitors for Anthony. There'll be other clubs who will come in for him simply because of how he performed for Betis, is an unlikely scenario, but still a possible one, because he's still a Manchester United player. So could he yet be reintegrated into the Manchester United squad under Rúben Amorim?
Why would it be any different?
Sounds outlandish at the moment.
It does.
But if I was to compare the two situations that they had earlier on last season, Marcus Rashford and Anthony, they both went on loan. Marcus Rashford to Aston Villa, Anthony to Real Betis. In the lead up to Marcus Rashford going on loan to Aston Villa, he was completely admonished from the Manchester United first team squad. He wasn't involved at all. If you look at Anthony's situation, since Rúben Amorim took over, and from the first game that he took over at Portman Road against Ipswich back in November, up until the point that Anthony left on loan for Real Betis, Anthony was involved in every single one of Rúben Amorim's squads, bar one. So you can see that Rúben Amorim might have seen something.
Didn't play much though, did he, Darnay?
He didn't. But the fact of the matter is, he was still being involved in these squads. He was still coming off the bench in some of these matches as well. Didn't get the amount of game time that Rúben Amorim would have wanted to give him, or Anthony himself would have wanted. Hence, he's gone out on loan, performed as well as he has, and maybe could he come back and pre-season training, Rúben Amorim take another look at him and say, yes, maybe I'm going to give you another chance, see what you can do, or with a higher value, Manchester United can get a bit more money for him if they were to sell him.
Could this happen?
It could. It's a really delicate situation from what I'm hearing. I'm told now that Bruno Fernandes is now discussing with his family about whether he wants to go to Al Hilal and move to Saudi Arabia, or remain at Manchester United. He's obviously their captain at Old Trafford. It's thought, though, it's going to be a really, really tough decision for him to make, because 30 years old, it's life-changing money that he would be paid. I think Carve was mentioning before, was it something like £700,000 a week? I mean, that is absolutely crazy, crazy money. And as far as Manchester United are concerned, the talk is that Al Hilal would be prepared to pay £100 million to sign Bruno Fernandes. This is a player who's going to be 31 in September. It should be said here, Manchester United do not want to sell Bruno Fernandes. Rúben Amorim, publicly at least, has said we want him to stay. And when I speak to Bruno Fernandes, the impression I'm getting is that he does want to stay. Now, it should also be noted, there's been no offer officially from Al Hilal. All we're hearing is that this is what they'd be prepared to pay. So Manchester United don't have to make a decision at this stage. The only way that Manchester United, I think, would consider selling Bruno Fernandes is if Bruno Fernandes made it clear to them that he wanted to move, and then that would set the wheels turning for Al Hilal to come in with a formal offer. Up until that point, it's just, well, we'd be prepared to pay this. I'm talking to my family, and then I'm going to decide what I'm going to do. So it is a little bit of a knife edge at the moment, but Carve's been covering this story quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. They want to get it done as soon as possible because of this.
Club World Cup, yeah.
I mean, Al Hilal,
£100 million, you've got to take it, surely. If you're rebuilding your club, which United are, they can do a lot with £100 million.
Before you, it'll be up to Bruno Fernandes still. Even if they offer £100 million, if Bruno Fernandes doesn't want to go, he's still under contract until 2027.
But for United, surely, who need to do to get players in and whatever. £100 million is going to help, isn't it?
I think it would be difficult for Manchester United to turn down that kind of money for a player who's going to be 31 soon. I know he's a very, very important player for Manchester United. He's an exceptional player, but we hear a lot about the supposed financial problems at Manchester United. You've got a situation where, unfortunately, a lot of people have lost their jobs. So against that backdrop, could Manchester United really turn down £100 million for Bruno Fernandes? Everything that we're hearing coming out of the club is that, yes, they would. He's not for sale. But the old cliche in football is, of course, that every player has his price. And I think that even if Bruno Fernandes